More time. Okay. Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. I'm your host, Steven Pynakker, and I have a special co-host on this program who joined me last time, Dr. Nehemia Gordon of Nehemia's Wall. Welcome back to the program. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on, Stephen. I'm really excited about this topic and hearing what Scott has to say about it.
I'm the same here, and we are so excited and to have Scott back on the program. Just to kind of lay out, folks, basically there throughout the years, there have been many objects that have been claimed to have been ancient origin objects here in North America. Now, Scott, of course, identified the Kensington Runestone as also the Back Creek Stone as authenticated ancient relics. But also throughout the years, there have been many objects that he's kind of debunked. And one of those more ones that probably a lot of you know, being members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, are what is called the Burrows Cave, where a lot of ancient relics allegedly have been found. Now, our friends over at Ancient American have published some of this stuff. Of course, Scott, you've even written for that publication in the past as well, and you've worked with Wayne May in the past and others. And of course, we got Rod Meldrum with Firm Foundation and all my friends there as well. And I just like to have this information out there because a lot of Latter-day Saints are using the Burrows Cave objects as evidence that proves the Book of Mormon to be true. And so, Scott, I just want to welcome you back to the program. Scott, of course, is a forensic geologist and the host of the very popular show America Unearthed on the History Channel. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you for having me on again, guys. I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think it's important to talk about, the stuff that didn't do well in the laboratory, as we should say. And there's some really good stories behind these artifacts, and I'm looking forward to sharing those stories with you.
That's great, and I love it. And it's funny because when you plugged in the file, you started laughing like, "Oh, trip down memory lane."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
so
They're good stories, It's Um, you mentioned the runestone. It really started this whole thing. And ultimately, once we came out and we said that the runestone was real, and so far that stood up to the test of time, people began bringing artifacts to me or saying, "Hey, have you heard about this? Have you heard about that?" And so I made a concerted effort to go out there and look at as many of these as I could. And there have been quite a number of them, as of now, and enough of them so that, I was able to get a lot of them in the lab. I was able to go visit these artifacts wherever they were being housed and apply some science to them. And I'm really excited that it's gone well enough over all these years that I feel like we've been able to develop a new science that I call archaeopetrography, where we take these laboratory microscopic techniques that we apply to, archaeological artifacts and try to bring new evidence and see where it goes. I mean, in many cases, it's gone well, and some of the cases we're going to talk about it didn't go so well. But I'm excited about this new science, and I think it's something that can bring a lot of value and help to some of these artifacts that are in question. People don't know what they are. There are things we can do to maybe answer some of those questions.
great, I love it. And maybe just talk a little bit about what is the Burrows Cave allegedly supposed to be? You said it's a great story. Maybe give some background about how you were brought into this whole situation.
Yeah, well, this was, another one of those stories that was shared with me not long after the runestone, my conclusion on the runestone came out and was made so public. But I would say this would goes back to, I can't remember the dates here, but it would be in the early 2000s. And I heard the story about this cave down in southern Illinois that a guy by the name of Russell Burrows had discovered and gone inside of and found all kinds of these artifacts. He found swords, he found shields, he found dead bodies, you name it. I mean, it was just a treasure trove of artifacts and gold as well. Um, so this was obviously a very intriguing story, and I chose to dive into it. And I ended up diving into it a lot deeper than I originally intended. I think I came along at a very important time. I think timing is everything. And in this particular case, I met some of the elder folks that had known Russell, had been very involved in the Burrows Cave story, and had acquired quite a collection of artifacts. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to get some artifacts myself so that I could perform invasive destructive testing. I didn't want to take somebody's artifact, scratch it or do something that would harm it, potentially affecting its value. So I went and got some of my own artifacts. And I was able to buy some from Beverly Mosley. I forget where all my artifacts came from, but I put together a pretty good collection. And the last person that I bought artifacts from was Russell Burrows. And I actually got to know Russell quite well.
guys hear me?
And stayed at my home. And so I can tell you all about Mr. Burrows.
Can you give me a time frame? Because I'm coming from a completely different field. I literally never heard of this. So
You've never heard of the Burrows Cave artifacts?
Never heard of it.
Oh my gosh.
But so tell me, when did Burroughs claim to discover this? What are we talking 19th century? What are we not because you met
You know what? Don't hold me to these dates, guys. I can look them up. I mean, I've written about it and all that, but it was sometime in the early 80s. I think, I don't know, the year 1984 seems to ring a bell, where Russell was exploring and found a cave. He crawled in, and there was this network of tunnels, and I never got it out of him whether they were natural or they were modified by man or built by man. I mean,
Did you ever see the caves?
Never.
So help me out, because I don't know American archaeology as well as I know Middle Eastern stuff.
Yeah.
If I go to a real archaeological site, or let's say a controlled archaeological excavation, and I dig up something made of gold, so in most countries that belongs to the government, not to me. So what was going on here? He's finding these artifacts in a cave, but he owns them, like people privately own them?
Uh, well, this is where it gets into, the troubling aspects of this story.
Okay.
These are the same kind of questions that I was asking, and my understanding is Russell had pulled out, coins, bars. I've seen reproductions of these made of lead. I actually have a few of them. I think I still have
The
them.
reproductions or the originals?
They're reproductions. The originals supposedly were made of gold. And anyway, I think what he ended up doing was selling these gold pieces and getting money for. The stories are so conflicting. And when I talked to Russell, he would tell me one thing one time, and then the story would change, and it would be something another time. And it was to say it was problematic would be an understatement.
Is your conclusion, because I'm not familiar with this at all, like I
Yeah.
said, is your conclusion
There have been thousands of inscribed stones that have been found, carved on black
Burroughs
stone
Cave? Are we
in
talking?
Burrows Cave. They're all from Burrows Cave.
And they're all fake, or what are you saying?
Well, no, I'll get there. I'll get there.
Oh, okay.
When I bought them, the
Mhm.
ones that I bought, I probably bought 300 because I was able to get them at a good price. And the good thing about the story is, even after I had discovered that there were clearly fakes, and I'll take you through it in a second, I had somebody come and want to buy my collection, and I said, "I'll sell this to you, but I want you to know that I have found fakes, okay? I don't want you to buy this without the understanding of the work that I've done and somehow claim later on that I'm doing a bait and switch on you." Now, they weren't the artifacts that I sold to him, but they were similar artifacts, right? And so you'll see what I mean when I get to that point. And he was undeterred. He bought them. And I actually made a little money, and I can't even believe it because I thought I'd be stuck with them for the rest of my life. And actually, I'm not the smartest artifact dealer, because I bought these artifacts and then I went out and promptly proved that they were fake. So what kind of a businessman am I?
Well, I'll just bring another parallel from history. There's a Shapira scroll which I don't know if you heard of that. It was
No.
in the 19th century at the British Museum. Long story short, it was proclaimed a fake because it couldn't possibly be that scrolls would survive near the Dead Sea. That
Yeah.
wasn't considered possible in the 1800s. And somebody bought it for 10 British pounds, which I think was quite a lot of money at the time. And it disappeared. And today it would probably be worth hundreds of thousands or millions because we know that scrolls do survive next to the Dead Sea. Whether it was fake or not, I don't know. But it
Oh,
was
so it's
claimed
out there
fake,
somewhere.
or it was thrown into a trash heap, possibly. We don't know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But
Well, this is a
for
story
50
similar
or
to
so
that.
years, it was a fact that it was a fake, and then people like, wait a minute, maybe that wasn't fake, and now
Yeah,
where
yeah.
it is.
I don't, I don't
So it
think,
wasn't necessarily a bad decision for him to buy those. Maybe they'll turn
no,
out.
exactly, exactly. Well, it turned out well for me, and I'm glad. And I still have some of the artifacts left. I just think they're cool, and I think just whether they're real or not, it's part of an enduring story, and it's part of my life. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking into these artifacts. I've been down to Southern Illinois, where people told me they knew where the cave was, and I always said when I looked at these artifacts. There's no way that I'm going to be able to make a definitive conclusion until I see where they came from. So I understand the environment. Is this a dry cave? Is it a wet cave? What kind of environment did these things come from? And so I always told Russell, look, I'm never going to be able to say with 100% certainty because until you show me the cave, I can't do it because I don't know what the weathering environment is. But that said, I still was able uh, to prove it. And if you want me to take you through it, I will. Um,
Can you show us some pictures of what these are? Because I still don't know what we're talking
you
about.
don't know what we're talking about. Should I go
No,
to the screen share
Yeah,
then,
do the
Steve?
screen share and pull up some
I gotta
images.
see like what are we dealing with? Hundreds of stones with inscriptions on them. What?
It reminds me a lot of the Michigan relics, and that's actually, Scott, something we'll talk about down the road
What do
too.
they claim to be from by whoever claims they're authentic? That's maybe the or oh, okay. That's
Okay.
self-explanatory. All right.
You see that? I now these are pictures that are from my book that I wrote about this, Akhenaten to the Founding Fathers, and I talk about I think I talk about the Back Creek in here too. I can't remember, but I talk about a lot of artifacts. Some are good, some are not, and these were not.
So
Here's another one.
these are Egyptians, for those who are listening, let's say, you're showing us stone tablets that have very clear Egyptian style. I don't know if they're Egyptian per
They're
se.
not all like that. They're not all like that.
Okay.
There's definitely a percentage of them that have an Egyptian flavor. There are some that have uh, well, there's some that have biblical scenes of Jesus. Um, and I think these are some of the ones that got a lot of people in the Mormon faith excited.
Okay.
I had a number of those, what I call Jesus stones, and they're crazy. This was Russell's favorite piece. And what he told me is this was a Hebrew shaman that clearly has an Egyptian style beard with what looks like side locks. So I don't know exactly what the hell's going on here, but one of the things I liked about this piece is you can see that it has artistically it's actually quite nice. It's beautiful, but it's also weathered somewhat. It has weathering on the face. Do you see that?
Mhm.
So guys who are listening, this is something that fits in his hands. I would call this black or gray. And it looks to me, and he's got like an Egyptian beard, like kind
Yep.
of fake beard. And then, but the rest of it has like a Maya or like feel like pre-Columbian feel to me, or is that? But I'm not an expert in this stuff, so maybe
Yeah,
that.
but you see the side locks?
Right.
Yeah, that has more of a Hebrew flavor to me, but
Uh,
I don't know what this is. But I remember when I got this, I bought it from somebody else, but when I showed it to Russell, he said, "Oh my God, that's my favorite piece."
wait, so not all the artifacts came from Russell?
No, no. He had sold a lot of these artifacts to other people. And
So
so
this
I got,
originated with Russell, but you didn't get it from him. Is that what you're
no,
saying?
I didn't. Well, I got some from him later, but the early ones that I bought came from people that he had sold
Oh,
to other people, and I bought them from them. So let me see if there's okay, now we're going the other way. So anyway, so these are just a few, but this is the one. Now, most of the stones that I have seen are these black stone calcareous concretions. And that's what that black stone was.
what's a calcareous concretion?
Calcareous means it has a carbonate content to it, a limestone, if you will, calcium carbonate. So
Okay.
if I dropped a little bit of acid on that black stone, it would fizz.
Limestone's usually very light in color, so why is this black?
Well, not always. No, it can be black and can be almost any color.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So this is a very organic rich, carbon rich, um, carbonaceous layer that's
Okay, that's
it's made of limestone, but it's not pure limestone. It's got a lot of organic carbon in it, so that's why it's black.
I
But
see.
yeah.
Okay.
So any case, most of them are like this, and some of them are small, about this size, and I've seen some that are this size. Now, at one point in the past, and I wrote an article in Ancient American about this. I actually went down to Southern Illinois, not far from where Russell used to live, and I went and I actually collected some of these raw stones in situ. They are weathering out to this day. And I got probably 30 pieces, and I got one that was probably 40 pounds, and it was like this big. Now it's
Well,
natural. There's
with
nothing
the
on it,
inscription,
but they're
with
weathering right out of the hill where the creek runs by. And that doesn't necessarily prove anything, but the source material I was able to locate. And, if somebody said to me, well, could somebody go there now and carve one of these stones and sell it to you as a Burrows Cave artifact? The answer is absolutely.
so the ones you found didn't have the carvings on them, is that
There were
right?
no carvings. These things were naturally weathering out of the hill. These are
So
the raw stones that these artifacts were carved from.
okay.
So the point is, the source material for the black stones is right there in southern Illinois. It's indigenous.
What we don't know is was this carved 500 years ago or in the 19
Exactly. Exactly.
or 70s? All
Yeah.
right.
Okay. But there are also a lot of these stones. These are white marble pieces. And at one time, I probably had about 30 of these.
Mhm.
And some of them were knives. Some of them were, you know, slabs like this of various scenes.
What do you mean they
Uh,
were knives? They were shaped like a knife.
this one was actually a piece I owned.
Did you say they were knives, as in like a cutting knife?
Yeah, they were like, but they were ceremonial, right? They were made of marble, white marble, and this is high white marble. So, yeah, there were a number of those pieces, but the trouble began with this particular piece right here. Now, I'm going to take you through this. A guy by the name of Jay Wakefield, who was a big supporter of Burrows Cave, I think he might already be. I actually sold some pieces to him before I sold the bulk of the collection. He bought a few pieces from me. That's another story. But anyway, he brought this piece to a conference, and I looked at it and I saw some things that bothered me, and I'm going to show you that in a second.
What
But
is
I asked Jay, I said, "Hey,
just curious.
Jay,
What,
I'd
what,
like to test your piece. Are you okay with me testing it?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Are you okay with me taking samples off the back?" And he said, "Yes, I am." I said, "I'm not going to hurt the carving on the front, but I want to take samples from the back." And he said, "Knock yourself out." So I appreciate that he did that. Okay.
what does
Now,
something like this weigh, Scott?
that piece is probably a little over maybe 14 inches tall, maybe 8 inches wide, and exactly 2 inches thick. So it probably weighs about 12 to 15 pounds.
Okay. And there's this woman, I think, kneeling to the sun for those who are listening.
Yeah.
All right.
And it definitely, she has what I would call an Egyptian style
Oh yeah.
haircut.
It's meant to look Egyptian.
Yeah, that I agree. I agree. But I'm not an expert, but there it is. Okay. So now let's flip it over. Okay.
Oh. Are you kidding me?
Um, no, I'm not kidding you. So
Oh,
what do you guys see?
well, I
It
see
looks
the
like,
letter K and E, or maybe,
well, you actually see the letters T-H-E-R,
okay.
like mother or father. And then you have a couple of cursive letters on the left side. Do you see that?
I see something that does not, yeah. Well, the thing in the
Okay.
middle is obviously Latin
That's a
character.
red flag, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Now, look over here. Do you see this stuff right here?
Mm-hmm.
hmm. What is that?
That's and up here actually. Okay. That is mortar.
Okay.
Okay. Portland cement mortar. So that was what was very interesting to me. So I took a closer look. Now, if we go back in this area up here, trying to remember where that was. I think it's right up here. Or is it over here? I can't remember. But this photo is a close-up of the letter S. Do you see it?
Okay.
The
Okay.
mortar is on the surface of the carved and weathered letter S. Now,
Okay.
guys, you don't have to be an experienced forensic geologist to have flashing red lights going right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I actually took a little piece of this mortar, I made a thin section, and I looked at the cement paste. And it's a very finely ground modern Portland cement.
What is Portland cement for those who are not in
Okay,
construction?
you know what concrete is?
I think I do.
Concrete is made of coarse rock, coarse aggregate,
Yeah.
sand, water, and Portland cement.
Okay. I know it's
Okay.
cement mixed with other stuff. That's what I know.
Yeah,
All right.
and Portland cement is made by firing limestone or shells, anything that's calcium carbonate to produce lime. And then
Okay.
when you add water to it, it hydrates and it gets hard.
This
Now,
is Portland cement, what we're seeing here.
Portland cement and sand, you can see the sand grains.
So it is concrete, or does that make it concrete?
It's mortar actually.
Mortar.
Concrete is when you have the rock, the big rock
Oh,
with the
okay.
sand. Mortar is just sand in Portland and water.
Okay.
So yeah, and it's a finely ground. Now I do material forensics on concrete for a living, so I look at cement every day. And older cement, when you go back to prior to about the 1950s, was very coarsely ground. Modern cement is more finely ground. It reacts faster. It gets higher strength and all that. So I can tell you roughly the age of when the Portland cement was. And this is modern, sometime after 1960.
Oh, wow, that recent.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and that is on the back of this weathered S. Now, have you guys ever been in a cemetery before and looked at white marble tombstones?
Oh, wow.
You know what the standard thickness of white marble tombstones is?
Is it two
No.
inches?
2 inches thick. Do you know what this stone is and all the other ones that are in that slab form? 2 inches thick. Exactly.
Wow.
Now, if we go back here, what you're going to see is you see these impact marks here
Hmm.
where it's been chipped away on the edges?
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay. They didn't do a very good job, did they?
not there where you can see the letters. What is that sort of line beneath the
Not
T?
sure. I think that's well, okay, this is a modern tombstone, okay?
Yeah.
No question about it. And I think what we're seeing is somebody trying to get rid of, the carvings on the back
Hmm.
because the back of the tombstone is actually where that woman is drawn or carved. This is the front, but it's the back of the artifact. You follow me?
Mhm.
So I think what this is right here, this This you're talking about this right here,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Okay. I think what that is just a little adornment, a little fancy
Okay.
line at the end of the inscription. You follow me?
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And the mortar there, what was the function of the mortar?
I'm not sure. It may have been a repaired tombstone. It looks like spillage to me.
Okay.
Now let me keep going here.
Wow.
Okay. You see these chisel marks right here?
Okay.
This is the same piece. So we're looking at this bottom edge right here, and let's just push it back and lay it down. That's what we're seeing here. You follow me? Do you
Mhm.
see these white light chisel marks?
Mhm. And there's like five of them, it looks like, or six. Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go here. This is a chisel mark to the on the left of that red line. All
Okay.
that area to the left here in
Mhm.
this area, that's one of those chisel marks.
Okay.
This is the back of the stone, and this is mortar. The chisel mark actually cuts through the mortar. So what we have here is a really excellent example of what we call superposition.
Hmm.
So we had a piece of marble that was carved into a tombstone, was probably erected and weathered for several decades, okay? Because those letters on the back are not freshly carved, they're weathered. Then, at some point after it weathered, mortar was placed on the back of that surface or spilled on the back, and then it was chipped because the chips and the chisel marks and the flaking from those chisel marks cut through the mortar right here. You follow me?
Oh.
Mhm.
Okay. Anyway, so fake.
So tell me superposition. What does that tell us what that means?
So for example, if you're looking at a rock and it fractures in the middle and it separates, and then molten rock intrudes in there, that's
Okay.
called a dike. Which
Okay.
is older, the intruding rock or the original rock?
I mean, the original rock's always going to be older than.
Obviously, right?
Right.
Now let's say we got a dike here, and then another one fractures through the dike and fills another dike.
Okay.
You can tell which came first, right? Which came second, and which came third. That's called the law of superposition. The other thing is if you have sediments, and I got a layer here and a layer here, which one's older?
Well, it depends. It's
Right?
complicated, right? Because
Well, no, this was first, this is higher, so
unless
it's
that
just
one
younger.
intruded from above, which can happen, can't it?
Well, what if it's
Geology.
tilted like this, or what if it's tilted like this, right?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
So the point is
mhm,
that under normal circumstances, sediments are older at the bottom, younger as you go top.
mhm,
Okay. Now, this is a similar kind of thing,
mhm.
but it's episodes of activity in this case.
So give me the layers here. So,
So the first layer is the original marble.
right.
Came out of a quarry, they cut it 2 inches thick. We're going to make a tombstone.
Yeah.
Then we carved the inscription,
Okay.
which we see part of.
Meaning that the inscription for the mother or father for the dead person.
Yeah, whoever it
Okay.
is, right? And that was
All right.
probably done about the time of death, right?
Yeah.
And when that stone was carved. So it's fresh. Everything's fresh.
Hmm.
Then it gets carved, then it gets erected, and then it weathers for who
Okay.
knows how long. The marble tombstones were big in the late 1800s, early 1900s, but we don't use them anymore because they weather so quickly. And depending, you go over to Europe and you look at an old marble stone, you can't read it anymore. It's gone. It's weathered away. But this one weathered for, I would say, several decades. I don't know exactly, but about that.
Can you tell where the marble came from?
No, but high white marble for tombstones, there's a number of major quarries around the country and around the world. So we could do trace element analysis probably on the marble to figure that out, but I don't think that's
It's not
important.
local to Southern Illinois.
I don't think so, but it's irrelevant really. It doesn't matter where
Fair
it
enough.
came
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
It's modern. It's modern, you know.
right.
So
Okay.
then, this picture here shows that we've got weathering of the inscription,
Yeah.
and then mortar was applied to it. Whether it was spilled or intentionally put on there, we don't know, but there it is. So that came next, and then somebody chiseled it and cut through the mortar up on the other side.
Wow.
So, and then the last thing is you see all the dirt here in this light colored spalled area on the left.
Hmm.
Somebody dirtied it up.
Hmm. And then,
Now,
so the chisel is later than the mortar, which
yep,
is later than the inscription,
yep,
and the inscription's modern.
yeah.
So this is a fake, you're saying. So it's
Well, that's
pretty
my conclusion. What do you think?
no, well, unless there's somebody who's time traveling, then it's a fake.
Okay.
So,
Well,
so it's
time,
pretty deliberate, the fake, meaning this is not like
this is intentional.
wow.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
no doubt. No doubt. Now, okay, now let's go back to this piece here. This is my own piece. After I did this work, I cleaned this piece. I scrubbed it, I cleaned it with water and a soft brush, and that's it. And the carving is so bright and so fresh, it's effing fake. And it's my piece. It was my piece, I should say. I sold it. But
Wow.
these are fake, okay? I'm sorry. The white marble pieces, well, if I'm asked to testify in a court of law, this piece is 100% modern,
Hmm.
fake, whatever you want to call it. Okay. The problem here, and uh, um, Nehemiah, you hit on this, and this is where it gets a little dicey sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, this is modern. Okay. There's no question this is modern. None of us are going to argue that this is legitimate. The question is, was somebody just having fun, or was this designed intentionally to deceive? That's where it gets a little bit trickier. I know what I think, but I'm curious what you guys think.
Well, let's see more examples, right? In other words, there's another possibility. First of all, the fact that somebody took an old tombstone is really scummy, right? In other words, you could say,
Well,
well,
that's a whole nother thing, but let me
because
just
let's
say
say
this.
I'm an artist and I find a piece of rock out in the countryside and I carve a thing in it, I
Yeah.
put it in my garden, and 50 years later you think it's ancient because you don't know any better. That's not what happened here. Somebody took a piece of a tombstone, which you should have respect for the dead and for funerary rituals.
Yeah.
And somebody did not was clearly disrespecting those for what seems like financial gain. That's what seems to
Well,
be.
I think your conclusion is pretty good. I will say this. I've done a lot of weathering studies. I've actually been to cemeteries. And what they will do in older cemeteries, sometimes a cemetery will just fall into disrepair for a number of years. Tombstones will fall over. And actually, what they'll do is if they don't know where the grave is for a particular stone, they will gather them up and they'll go out in the woods and they'll put them in a pile.
Yep.
Now, I mean, talk about disrespect, right? But if there's no records to match up the names with where the grave is,
I don't even know if that's disrespectful compared to this.
well, no, but
Yeah.
my point is,
Yeah.
I have gone out and I've asked permission to collect white marble tombstones and other tombstones so I could do legitimate scientific weathering
Okay.
studies. Okay.
Okay.
So I just want to be honest about this and fair. I didn't try to profit off. Well, I'm profiting from the scientific knowledge, but this does not appear to be the same case. Now, maybe somebody went out, they found a pile of old tombstones and they got this idea, but I happen to agree with you that if that's what you're going to do, is in my opinion, this is an attempt to intentionally deceive and profit, frankly, criminally. I think this is a criminal act. If you
So my first
intentionally,
thought when I saw the cement or the concrete, sorry if I'm using the wrong term,
just, no, it's mortars in this
mortar,
case.
excuse me. First thought when I saw the mortar was something we see a lot more in the old world. I don't know if you see it so much in the new world, which is you'll have a bunch of tombstones from a cemetery that nobody's used in 500 years. And what they'll do, because they're actually dangerous, they can fall over and kill some kid who's playing
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
So what
yeah,
they'll do, I've seen in a lot of places, especially Jewish cemeteries, is they'll take them and they'll put them into a wall. So now you have a wall that's been made out of tombstones, and it keeps it safe. And now at least the memory of the person who died, his name is there, even though you don't know where he was buried exactly.
right.
And that might explain, maybe that was my first thought of the mortar, is this is something that was in second use. Somebody needed a lintel for their door, or they needed, like, they were building I don't know, a small hut or something for the windows, and they found an old piece of marble. They didn't even notice the inscription maybe, and they stuck it in there. And then somebody else comes along and says, "What a beautiful, nice, soft, flat piece of marble," because the other side is really nice and flat.
Yeah.
Let's turn this into, something where we can pretend it's ancient. Right?
Well,
That was my first guess, but I don't
well,
know.
you know what? That's as good as any, frankly, because I have no idea how that mortar got there. All I know is it got there after that inscription on what is the original front side, now the back side of this artifact, had already weathered. And so, the way it's laying on there and those little drips, it almost looks like somebody spilled on it. They were working somewhere else. This piece was laying here. Hell, it may have been Russell for all we know.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think your interpretation
So just to be
is
clear, do
right.
you know for a fact that this came from Russell? Or did you buy it through an intermediary or a second?
This piece, the one we're talking about, mine is the one I bought is this one. This
Okay.
is the one that was tested with the mortar is this one.
So we don't, do we know? So we don't know for sure that this came from, Russell's Cave?
It's definitely a Burrows Cave piece. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
it's
That
a Burrows Cave piece.
that
and
does
Scott,
not, that's
Jay told me who he got it from. It might even be in my book. I just don't remember right
that,
now.
that doesn't
But
bode well for Russell's Cave.
let's put it this way. All roads lead to Russell Burrows.
okay. Well, real quick, I just want to know how many objects were made using tombstones in the collection, or approximately.
I would say I have probably seen around 100,
Okay.
and I had 30 of them at one time. There's probably more, but I will say I've seen at least 40 to 50 that are slabs like this, and every one that I've looked at and measured is exactly 2 inches thick.
How many have inscriptions on them that are obviously modern English?
This is the only one that I found.
Okay.
So
So this
what
is
I think
smoking
happened,
gun, isn't it?
guys, is the guy, whoever it was that was cleaning up the back, chiseling the back to get rid of the words,
Yeah.
somehow screwed up and didn't get this and didn't do a good job on this one.
But he missed one out of 100, so that isn't bad either for his.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know what? The one I saw, and now it's coming back to haunt them.
Yeah. Wow.
So that is a problem. Now let me tell you a couple of other problems, okay? Um, so my last little blurb of time that I spent with the Burrows Cave before I ended up selling my pieces was with Russell. And I was doing America Unearthed, and we did an episode on the Burrows Cave.
Hey, Scott,
And
Scott, could you maybe exit out of share screen just while you're telling the story, and then
oh
we'll
yeah,
get
okay,
into
all
it?
right, yep. Okay.
Okay.
So we were doing America Unearthed. We wanted to do an episode on Burrows Cave, and of course, I had a lot of artifacts, and we had not I had not seen this piece yet. This piece came after we did the episode. But I got a chance to, we contacted Russell, and he and I actually hit it off pretty good. And he actually came to visit me at one point, and we were going to do an interview with him, but he did not allow us to use it in the show. Anyway, so I started buying some pieces from Russell. And what I noticed was the quality of the carvings I was getting from Russell was getting worse and worse. Some of them were just downright awful. And I said, God, Russ, this one was done by a really poor artist. Yeah, well, give me $20 for it. I mean, just the way that we were doing business, I got the impression that he was making these pieces. But then I got this piece. Let me go from Russell.
Okay, so just enable screen share again, and then we'll see that. All right.
I am going to this piece. So this piece came, and I remember Russell said to me, he goes, "Oh, Scott," he goes, I think I have one that has runes on it." And I'm like, "Oh, Russ, well, I want that. This is the only one that I ever found that had runes on it." Well, I mean, geez, put the hook in my mouth, right? And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it, Russell." And he charged me, I don't know, $75, or it wasn't much. So I'm looking at these runes, and now you got to remember, guys, I wrote a book called The Kensington Runestone, Compelling New Evidence. It's 574 pages. And if you're going to pull a fast one on somebody that involves a runestone, you probably don't want to do it with me. I'm just saying. So I started
But he
looking
did get $75, so it worked.
oh, it was the best $75 I ever spent, let me tell you.
Yeah.
No, it had nothing to do with money, man. This was all about getting to the bottom of it. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, I recognize these ruins. I recognize all of these ruins. I know exactly where this came from.
Uh-oh.
These are the first two lines of the Kensington Runestone.
So
Come on,
that's the
guys. Wait a
source
minute.
of the
Guys, come on,
forgery.
have faith. Okay, come on. So, but it gets worse than that. Okay. And I don't have the picture handy, but I know the picture. So historically, over the last 130 years, whatever it's been, there have been many pictures taken of the runestone. There are all kinds of mistakes in this carving. Okay, like this right here. Here's a mistake. This is a mistake. There's a lot of mistakes. Well, he forgot an R here. Okay. Um, these mistakes you can actually see in one of the historic photos of the runestone. I can tell you which photo we used to carve this piece of garbage.
What do you mean there's mistakes in a photo? How could there be a mistake in a photo?
Well,
Was it a
it's not a
drawing?
mistake in the photo. The photo is just not of good quality, and the lines
Oh,
don't
okay.
show up. Or
I
there's what
see.
looks like lines that are not lines, but they're here, right?
Okay.
So I've studied this in it very closely, and this is a really bad job of copying the first two lines. So I see this, right? And I recognize it as what it obviously, and if you look at it, you guys can see it, right?
Oh, it's clearly a copy of that.
Yeah, a
Uh,
bad copy.
well, that I don't have the expertise to judge. I'll take your
I'm
word.
telling you, it's a bad copy, okay?
Um,
So what do you
well,
do? The first guy I call is Russell.
yeah.
I said, Russ, I said, do you realize this is the first two lines of the Kensington Runestone? And I said, there's a lot of mistakes in it. He goes, oh, yeah. No, they carved that as a pass. You needed that to show the guy at the entrance of the cave when you wanted to go in back then. I go, in 1898 or 1362? What is it? Oh, back in 1362, you had to have a stone to get you in with the first two. I mean, it's just nonsense, right?
Wait. So let's just argue for a second. This is real.
Okay.
How would he know that?
Right, exactly.
How would he know what the function of this stone was?
What's the matter with you guys? He's Russell Burrows. He knows
No, I
everything.
get it. He's the forger. But let's say he was even right and this was real. How would he possibly know? Like, look, you could have inscriptions that are identical. If this said in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, and it was in some ancient language, it wouldn't be that surprising that it appears in two different stones. But
Right.
I don't know what the Kensington stone says. Um, you could probably tell us.
I
But
can tell you if you want to know.
okay, but it's
Right here, it says 8 Goths and 22 Northmen on this acquisition business. And that's where it ends. And then it says from Vinland far to the west, line 3 and 4.
so there's no reason for that to have been copied to another stone unless you're trying to make a fake.
Well, if it was used as like a key or, a pass to get in, I probably would have carved something different. I don't see
Right.
why
But
that's.
so did you confront him and say I don't remember
Yeah.
the guy's name. How
Oh
do you
yeah.
know what it was used for in 13 whatever?
Well, no, I didn't. But let's go back. And now that I think about it, I can't remember if this stone or the other. I think this stone happened first, but the marble stone happened, and the first person I called was Russell.
Okay.
And look, I don't care who you are. Nobody's going to buy that one I just showed you, right? That's a tombstone. No question about it, right?
Right.
That's modern. No question about it. And I said, Russ, I just want you to know, here's what I found. Oh, Scott, that's good work. You did a great job. That's absolutely 100% fake. I go, okay, well, we're on the same page there. Russell, do you remember that book you wrote, A Cave with 1,000 Faces? Do you know that book? Do you guys know of that
No,
book?
no,
No, the
I have
book. I
never heard
never
of
even
that
heard
book.
of any of
No,
this. So
He
no.
wrote a book called The Cave of 1,000 Faces.
Okay.
okay.
And on page whatever, it's in I got it in my book. I reminded Russell, hey, Russell, do you remember in your book, you wrote about that very artifact? You said that you found it in cave number 4. It was laying up next to the bier that had a body on it with a dead soldier and a bunch of swords. Remember that, Russ?
Wow.
Oh, well, let me check on that, Scott. I'll get back to you. Uh, what's the date today?
It's
2024.
Still haven't heard from him.
And what year was that? Was years ago?
Well, I wrote about it in this book that was published in 2013. If you give me a sec, I'll tell you.
it just real quick while you're looking through it, is Russell Burrows still alive, Scott?
Not until April of 2010. So that's 15 years ago.
What that Russell passed away or
No, no, that I looked at that white marble piece.
oh, okay, okay. And then while you were looking at that date, I was asking if Russell Burrows is still alive.
I don't know. The last I heard, he was in ill health, and that was a
Okay.
couple years ago.
Yeah.
He'd be in his probably upper 80s now.
So I
Okay.
just Googled it, and because I've never heard of it. So it's called the Mystery Cave of Many Faces, first in
That's
its
it.
on the saga of Burrows' Cave, and it's written by Russell and Fred Burrows. I love it. It's about Burrows' Cave, and it was written. Oh, and it's Burrows plural.
It's Russell
Oh,
Burrows.
Burrows
Oh,
is the guy's name. Okay,
yeah,
so
that's his last name with an
oh, I got
S.
that. Okay, so Burrows wrote a book about
No,
Burrows.
Fred, was it Fred Mertz? It wasn't Fred. It's
Um,
his
Fred.
name's
Well, oh, Fred Ridholm.
Fred Ridholm. Yes, yes.
Okay, so it's listed incorrectly here on Amazon. It says Russell and Fred Ridholm Burrows, but
No, no.
but then on the book it says Russell Burrows and Fred Ridholm.
Yeah, Fred Ridholm
Maybe
passed away about
mispronouncing.
5 years ago, and he was sort of an explorer, adventure, lecturer guy that lived up in the Upper Peninsula of
Oh,
Michigan.
yes, yeah. I know. I'm
Yeah,
familiar with
and
his
he
work.
was
Yeah.
he was actually a very good guy, but he was all in on Burroughs Cave.
So let me understand because here I'm kind of like the outside man who doesn't know what I'm talking about. So who are there people who look at these artifacts we're going to watch this interview and say, "How dare you blaspheme our holy artifacts?" These prove our faith. Are there people out there who think these are real?
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't know.
Well,
Well,
But
just real
well,
quick,
no. Let me ask that. Absolutely, there are
yes.
people that believe that. Yes,
And
absolutely.
and just to give context, Nehemia, so there's this magazine called Ancient America, is published by Wayne May, who is a Latter-day Saint. And this basically a lot of their materials that they use in their publication are based on Burrows Cave stuff. So a lot of this is
A
used as
lot of
evidence
stuff. A lot of it.
ancient
Yes.
ancient
was
civilization.
Burroughs Mormon? Out of
No,
curiosity.
no.
Say that again, Nehemiah. What'd you say?
I asked, was Russell Burroughs Mormon?
No, no.
And Stephen was saying no. Okay, wow. So you're
Yeah.
saying there's a lot of Mormons who look at this and say, "See, this proves that there were ancient Egyptian connections to the Americas." Is that where they're coming from, or
That's
where are they?
I
partly, and
think
of course, you have some of the Jesus materials in there. So there are
Oh,
some biblical stuff in there, but
wow.
also you have the idea within Mormonism, you have the idea that the Book of Mormon was written in Reformed Egyptian. So there would be an Egyptian tie to this as well, because the plates have an Egyptian tie.
Gotcha. What are we looking at here, Scott?
okay. This is another Burrows Cave artifact. I'm just going to see if I got some of the. Let me see. I should have. Hold on. Burrows Cave.
This slate, what is the material here?
Um, this is a.
Looks like a roofing tile.
Yeah, it's a slate. It's more of an argillite slate, argillaceous slate.
Okay.
And now the reason that this is so interesting, this one, it's hard for you to see, but you can see a little tail right here with some legs.
Mhm.
And this one was actually a pretty nice, I think this was like multiple serpents coming out, up here in this area. And I forget what was on the rest of this, but I bought this one from Beb Mosley and I bought it from a photograph. And then when we went to his house to go look for it, his water heater had leaked and the water caused this thing to fall apart.
Oh, wow.
No freezing,
Hmm.
just wetting and drying. Okay. Now, Russell talked about how he told me personally many times he would be walking through the caves that were, and there was water flowing through them like a stream during rain events, is what he said. And a lot of these artifacts would get piled up around the corners. And that's where he would find a whole cluster of them. They were all piled up by the water. Now, this does not bode well for that story, does it?
Of
No.
course, yeah. That's
Yeah.
that's the main issue. Obviously, if it was exposed to water and destroyed like that, and considering that it was in a cave that was wet, according to him, this should not even existed because it would have been.
Now, the other thing that I did was you remember those stones I told you I collected?
Mhm.
I put those outside in my rock garden. And yes, there was freezing and thawing. You could say that there wouldn't be any freezing and thawing in the cave, but there could be. There could be, depending on where in the cave, how close to the surface, and all that kind of stuff, which we have no information about because nobody's ever seen the cave. Those pieces I put out in the fall. In the spring, they were in pieces.
Wow.
They just fell apart. So,
Wow.
the only person that could give us any information about the cave is Russell. And everything that he's told me just doesn't work. None of it works.
Wait,
Now,
so help me understand. So, just from a geological perspective, right? So, let's go back to that slate, right?
yep,
So that slate, according to like mainstream geology, right, is millions of years old, right? I mean, am I
hundreds of millions of years old,
hundreds of millions?
probably. And
Whatever
it's
that.
not the kind of slate that uses roofing tiles.
Oh, it's
This
not.
is an argillaceous
What is so
slate
that's the
that
key here. Why does
that
fall
is
apart
a
when you get
lot weaker. It's a lot weaker
okay.
than the kind of slate you're thinking of, because you get strong slates and weak slates and
Okay.
everything in between.
So before it was carved, what kept it from falling apart? That's what I'm trying to
Yeah, great
understand.
question.
It had not been exposed to moisture.
So was it just, so was it like a layer inside other rocks or?
No, I mean when it was pulled out of the quarry, who
Okay.
knows when this piece came out?
So it
It
came out of
obviously
a
had not
quarry.
weathered.
It came out of a quarry, and in that quarry, it was somehow before it was pulled out, it was attached to like a bigger rock or something. Is that
Yeah, it was.
okay?
Yeah, there probably was all kinds of these pieces that
So
came
do you
out.
like split the layers on in a quarry like this? Is that what we're thinking?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And once that
And you
layer
would
was split,
probably
okay,
take
then
a
it was
flat
very
chisel and chisel them out.
okay. And once it was removed from that ancient context, it's it's one exposure to water can cause this kind of damages.
Well,
Wow.
I don't know how long it was in his basement, but it
Okay.
couldn't have been more than 20 years at the time.
Okay.
And it was, I don't know exactly what happened, but it leaked and it got wet and it fell apart.
So is the working theory that whoever you're talking about, the guy with the water heater, he bought this from Burrows and Burrows made this?
Beverly Mosley, yeah.
So is that the theory that Mosley bought it from Burrows? Is that your
He
theory?
said he did. He said he did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
I bought it from Bev. Yeah.
So Bev
Beverly's
did.
now
So
Beverly's
you're blaming
deceased now,
Bev
but
and saying that he's the forger because he probably believed it was real.
oh, absolutely he believed
Okay.
it. He was a huge Russell Burrows supporters. In fact, in Ohio, there were a number of people that all knew each other that attended regular meetings of I forget what their organization was called, but oh,
Wasn't like
oh
the Epigraphical Society, or I forget how
look
to.
what I got.
Oh,
What's that?
nice. What is it? Is
Beer
that?
time.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe it was tea. All right.
No,
So
no, 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 no. I
so let
like
me
tea too, but
So,
not this one.
so let me ask a question. I don't know anything about this. So if these were real artifacts, right? Because there are real artifacts, right? Not these, but there are real artifacts from pre-Columbian America. Do they really only sell for $75? Is that really what the uh,
Well, no, some of these sold for a lot more money than that. But most of them, I think Russell was getting back at the time, maybe between 50 and $300, depending on the size and what was depicted. Actually, what I was looking for, guys, is I was going to look for some of these Jesus stones.
Yeah, look for the Jesus stones. Also, I want you to go and pull up that one where it shows the Great Lakes. I want you to talk a little bit about that
Yeah,
because
yeah, I want to talk about that one too.
yeah, because
Let's
I
go
think that,
back here. So I bought this one from Russell too.
yeah,
And now, if you look at it, it's got a few, characters. I don't know what that language is. I'm not even going to give it the time to figure it out. But you see these boats here, these little boats? That's a boat.
hmm
That's a
okay.
boat. And here's a boat. And this is Lake Michigan. I assume this is Lake Huron.
Oh, there you go. I'm from Chicago.
Okay.
There's Lake Michigan, all right.
And there's Lake Superior, a little stretched out, but you
There's
get
the
the
UP,
point.
the Upper Peninsula.
And look here, we got dots, a trail leading Lake Superior all the way to Duluth, and then west from Duluth. And we see this interesting shaped stone over here. And
Is
if
that
you look at the Kensington runestone, it has an angled top just like that.
so? Was
And
that
Russell
copied from Kensington?
and Russell sold that stone to Scott Wolter.
And so
Okay.
basically what you're saying is that this is he's connecting this piece to the Kensington Runestone, that this is that he's trying to verify it by like this is almost like their little map to
No,
find
he's
the
trying to
Runestone.
sell Scott what he knows Scott wants to buy.
So he's making, according to your hypothesis, we don't know. Meaning, I don't want to say I don't even know the guy, so I want to be really careful here. But
No, you don't have to worry. Don't worry.
so what you're saying is that he's making fakes custom for his mark. Is that
Like you said, do we know this for sure? No, we don't. Would I
okay?
bet $1 million on it? Absolutely.
This is, and just to give people a parallel, this is exactly what Mark Hoffman was doing in the early 80s, 70s and 80s when he was giving the scholars exactly the documents they were looking for. That's what led to all the bombings and the killing. Of course, he's still in prison, but he was creating the objects that
He's
the
still
scholars.
alive, Mark Hoffman?
Yeah, Mark Hoffman's still alive.
Are
Yeah.
you serious? What? When do we get him on the program? Are you kidding me?
There's so many people have tried to reach out to him, and I've thought about sending him a letter and see if he'd be
Can
interested.
you tell my non-LDS audience just like in 60 seconds who
Yeah,
Mark Hoffman is?
I
sure.
want to, yeah, and please for me too, because I have no idea who you're
Okay.
talking about.
So actually, why don't you exit out real quick and then I'll
Okay.
share that little bit of history. This
Guys,
is a really good book. It's called Salamander,
mhm.
and the story of the Mormon forgery murders. It's a great book, and
Murders.
so this was based on the Salamander letter. This is so he Mark Hoffman created a couple, well, quite a few fakes. And basically, the Salamander letter is a description allegedly written by, I believe, Martin Harris. I think so, that he described that Joseph Smith spoke to a magic salamander as opposed to an angel when he first encountered the plates. And this comes in with the folklore of the time that Joseph Smith was a treasure digger and practiced magic. And there's also another story about Joseph Smith being attacked by a toad that then would become a human. And so he's kind of basing it off these stories that we know about and created this letter that basically this was huge. Like when this came out, it changed Mormon history. The church bought it or had I mean, so this was authenticated or thought to be. My friend Gerald and Sandra Tanner were the ones that were Christians who yeah, I think this is no. Well, and he also created a few other objects, but either way, it's a tremendous story. If you want to read more about it, a couple years ago, Netflix had a series called Murder Among the Mormons, and it's worth watching. And Mark Hoffman was a person who basically was creating these objects and made quite a bit of money. And he was in the process of also selling not only was he doing it in the Mormon market, but he was doing it in the antiquities market in general, the historical
Like he had like signature letters of like I don't remember who, but like people like Thomas Jefferson or
Yes.
whoever. I don't
Yep.
know.
And he even had the audacity to create an Emily Dickinson's poem. I
Really?
mean, yeah, that's how he was in many ways brilliant. He was a brilliant man, but he was also an evil man, and ended up actually I've had Brett Metcalf, or actually not Brett Ashworth on many times, and he was the final target that he was going to kill. He actually had a bomb ready for him. So
Wait a
this
minute. So this guy is making fake documents.
yep.
He's selling them,
Yep.
but how are the murders happening? Why is the murder part of this?
Part of what was happening was things were closing in on Mark. He had a lot of he actually had owed a lot of people a lot of money, and
Oh,
he was supposed to he basically was going to create some more documents, but he was way behind, and then basically he just decided to kill a bunch of people that were involved in this to kind of silence them, and then he got caught. He actually got injured by the final bomb that he had
One
ready
of
for.
his bombs went off and hit him, and that's where they're
Yeah,
like, wait a minute, maybe this guy's connected.
he
yeah.
couldn't deny that he was in the area, right?
Right, exactly. It's an interesting story because the prophet of the church himself thought these objects were authentic. They were in the and they really believed this. So it kind of was a really incredible story. It's and actually, I mean, it's a story about bombings and terror and killing and intrigue and creating all these documents. It's really, Scott, it's an interesting story to look into. And that's but what his key thing was is he was so keen to know what the historians were looking for. And this is
Right.
right around the time that the whole idea that Joseph Smith practiced magic, that he was a treasure digger, and so was adding to that folklore. And so the salamander really was the main object that was like the most
When
important.
did this happen?
This all happened in the early to mid 80s.
Okay.
Yep.
Right about the same time as Russell Burrows.
Yeah.
But
It,
the point is that Hoffman wasn't charging $75. He was charging probably, I think it was thousands, wasn't
oh
it?
yeah. 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 Yeah.
Hey, make no mistake, guys, if Russell could have got thousands of dollars, he would have taken
Well,
it. But
and the difference is that Mark Hoffman and I don't know anything about this, right? But from what I've read, he was a very skilled forger. It doesn't sound like Burroughs was a very skilled forger. I'll just be honest with you.
Well, and actually,
well,
just so you guys understand, the way where they were able to break the case with the forgeries was that they did some forensic analysis of the ink and found that all the Hoffman forgeries he was able to recreate inks using the, from the period. And what he would do is he would go into bookstores and take out pages from books from that time. And so the paper was aged. He was able to create the inks.
The paper was the right age, but the
Right.
ink was.
But he was able to chemically reproduce the ink, but the problem is under a microscope it all had cracking, which didn't happen in the originals. That's how they were able to crack the case and find out that they say there's still probably dozens, if not hundreds, of Hoffman forgeries that are considered authentic to this day.
So Royal Skousen, who is like the founder of I would say like Mormon textual criticism or LDS textual criticism, he told me about, he examined this one page of the Book of Mormon that was, I want to say it was at the University of Chicago or maybe University of Illinois Champaign-Urbana. Like the provenance was rock solid. It's in a university library. And he took one look at that thing and he said, for sure this is Mark Hoffman. Right?
Really?
Like he almost, because what Hoffman would do is he would plant these little he would leave you a treat, right? And what was the treat? The treat was like this salamander, right? It was something like, there's one thing about this that is off. And so in the case of this page from, like I said, I forget which university it was at, he said, look, in hundreds of pages, I'll find like one variant a page or something like that. And then they're usually not that interesting. And here I find 4 fascinating variants on a single page. Immediately, that's Hoffman. Like, what are the odds that of hundreds of other pages, you'll go through and you'll have to dig through hundreds of pages to find anything all that interesting? And here there's 4 interesting things on one page. I hope I'm getting that right. And I think one of them, in one of the Hoffman forgeries, was the word Mormon was spelled Morman, right? So it's the first time the word Mormon ever appears, and it's spelled, wrong or differently. He's like, no, that's not real. That's got to be a fake.
Wow.
Well, yeah, but it sounds to me like you had to work a little harder than I did. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely. And Hoffman did this to jack up the price.
of course, yeah.
If there's a misspelling of the name, the Mormon Church might pay $1 million to hide that, right? That's probably what he was thinking.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're not talking about a sophisticated person, and
No, not.
I got along great with Russell, but he was the biggest bullshitter, one of the biggest bullshitters I've ever met, and I don't hold any ill will towards him because I don't know for sure what happened, but I know this much: I have seen photographs of enough of these artifacts to know that he didn't do them all. That I know for sure.
Okay.
So he did not do them all, but he definitely probably did the ones that I did. Let me see if I got Jesus.
That's interesting.
Here we go.
So he could have been buying them from some other source. And then when he ran out, then you start to get the low quality ones because he's like, I still got to sell stuff.
Well, yeah, no, that's exactly right. And, but he had some of the artwork on him, on some of the pieces is actually really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really good. Now, you want to see some of these Jesus
Please.
pieces?
Yeah, show the Jesus
Oh, yeah.
ones. Absolutely. Yeah, so
Okay.
just open up screen share again.
All right. Yeah, I just want to. Here we go. Is that it? No. Where am I? Okay, here we go. All right. No, I don't want that one. Let's get rid of this right now. Let's go. Is that coming up?
It's
No.
you need to open it up. It's
Well, he probably has it like on a second screen or something.
Here we go. Like,
We don't
You see it?
No, we only see a folder. It says Face of Jesus 10-10-07. But there's no image.
No image?
No.
Can you scroll down at all? Because I think maybe you or do you just have the bar there?
Well, let's see. Your screen is paused. Share. Okay.
You have more than one screen? Because my guess is it's on the
There we
second.
go.
Is that
There
it?
it is.
Okay, now this is interesting, Scott, because I see on
Do
the
you
top.
see it? You see it, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
I see
Okay.
the picture. So I immediately recognized that on the top is what is referred to as the mystic symbol
Yes.
that is tied in with the Michigan relics. which I hope to get you to be able to inspect at some point.
Yeah,
So this,
they would not allow me to look at them
and
because
I can probably get you in there, Scott, because I have a
that'd be
source.
awesome. That'd be
I got a
awesome.
source, and afterwards I'll get you his number because I want you to talk to him.
So is this from the Burrows Cave, what we're looking at?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
this
is
is Burrows Cave.
this is from the Burrows Cave. I want people to understand what's going on here. Is that in the 1950s, there's a woman who looked at the Michigan relics and found that on the very top there, where you see she's a non-LDS, but she described it as the mystical symbol. So
What's
that book is in
what's the mystical symbol?
well, it supposedly represents the nails of Christ that were used to nail Christ.
And is that a LDS
No,
symbol?
no,
No.
this was the mystic symbol was identified by a non-LDS person, and I think she was a decrypt. I think she was in cryptology and stuff in the World War II, but she said claimed it was the mystic symbol, so she published a book about it that was very popular with people that with people who believed in this kind of stuff, and so he integrated something that was in the popular lore and into the Jesus stone.
Oh. So, guys, for those listening, this is again like it's a blackish, dark colored stone that fits in his
Yeah,
hand.
this is it's the same stone. Now,
And
this
and
is
it
a
looks like kind
stone.
of, I'm just going to describe for people who are listening. It's supposed to look like Jesus, but I would say maybe it's like kind of a Chinese Jesus, maybe.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Here's another one.
Or maybe that'd be a Native American Jesus. I don't
I'm
really.
going to close this one. I'm gonna open this one. Okay.
Okay, so here's a crucifix, Jesus on the cross, but you kind of have to know what you're looking at or you wouldn't really
All
know.
right.
Oh
Do
yeah, so
you see him down there, right?
Yeah.
yep, Jesus on the cross, and once again, I want to point out the mystic symbols on the very top.
Yep, there it is.
Where's
But this is not the same. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, because this is
that's
handled
called the
narrative.
mystic symbol by some group of people? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Hmm.
There you go.
Okay.
And there's a close up of that.
And
Okay.
those represent the nails? Well, shouldn't the nails be on the cross, not?
No, the mystic symbol they believe that represents the nails that pierced Christ.
Yeah.
That's what that.
Yep. The five wounds of Christ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see this
Let
five.
me, there's some others that are really good here. Let's see.
Wait, and is that like writing that you can read? Like,
No, it's the Burrows Cave script.
okay.
Okay, let's see here. Can you see this one?
Not yet.
No, we still see the tiny crucifix one. And again, these are like black ovalish stones with what
How
look,
about that
oh,
one?
okay. Here's somebody is bowing down to Jesus, who is the mystical symbol.
No,
Oh, look, he's
casting
casting out
out the
casting
hog.
out demons. Yeah, that's what he's casting the demons from that person.
Oh, he's
Hogs.
casting a demon. Okay, there you go. Casting demons from the person possessed into the pigs. Were there pigs in the New World before Columbus? I actually don't know the answer to
Oh,
that.
there would have been javelinas and wild boars.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. What do you think of that one, guys?
Yeah, I mean that's yeah. And again, he's tying. Now, a lot of people think that the Michigan relics are also fake, and so now he's using fakes of fakes by taking the mystic symbol and then putting them into his stuff too. So it's just kind of for those who believe that the Michigan relics have been debunked, they'll consider this to be debunked as well. Again, that's just what
So
his
you had a
opinions are.
really rock solid, no pun intended, case with the Tombstone. What's the proof here that this is fake?
Well, what's the proof that it's real?
Hmm?
Are you seeing this one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is I call it the resurrection.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, because there's the tomb with the light coming out of the tomb. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And, what are these? The three, what would those be?
That's
They
a
look
good
like
question.
three stars or something.
Yeah. Just so you guys know, I had these pieces.
Yeah.
These were my pieces. I sold them all. Whenever I could get a hold of a Jesus piece, I thought, one day I'm going to get someone that's going to want this.
And just so you know, you tell everybody that they're not real when you sell them too. So it's
Well,
really interesting.
here's my official position. Okay.
Okay.
That white marble piece, that's fake.
Hmm.
the one that has the tombstone. Because all of the others were made of the same rock, 2 inches thick, they're probably fake too. I can't say with 100% certainty. The only thing I can say with 100% certainty is that piece, that one piece, is fake. Now, does that cast a long, dark shadow over the rest of them? Yeah, it sure does. It does for me. But again, if I'm testifying in a court of law, I can't say with 100% certainty, but anybody with a functioning brain isn't going to pay any money for those.
So
That piece,
this is not from a tombstone, obviously, right?
no, this is that Blackstone concretion.
Okay.
Same stuff I found along the creek.
What are those horizontal striations that when you zoom when in the last photo that you were kind of
Right
zoomed in?
there.
No. They're part of the rock. Or I don't know, they're on the surface of the rock.
Oh, you mean right here?
No, can you go to the previous photo? Yeah, those.
Yeah,
When you
this area here and along here.
no, just to the left of the cross.
Yeah, right here, this area.
No, they're very small. Like zoom in here, please. Is it my imagination or are there
Oh, no. I know what you're, no. Hold
that
on.
looks like it was worked with a power tool, doesn't it?
Yes. You're talking about these scratches here, right?
Yeah,
Right
isn't
here.
that from a power tool?
It's been polished, hand polished.
Oh, okay.
See
So
that?
it's not a power tool. Okay.
No, not a power tool. That's been hand polished.
All right.
Looks like it was done after it was carved.
Yeah.
So,
So
Scott,
So,
what tools do you think he was using to make a lot of these objects?
well, this looks like a hand done to me. These lines aren't straight.
Okay.
They look like they've been hand done, but this rock is very soft. It's easy to carve.
Easy to carve. Okay.
Yep, it's easy. Yep. So let me
I think the takeaway is this guy is no Mark Hoffman.
I think you got that right. Let's see. I'm looking.
Let's see Jesus and the serpent. Oh, Star of David. Let's see that.
Yeah, I'm looking here. Let's see. Oh yeah, this piece this is a beauty. Can you see it?
Yep.
Well, what do you think, Nehemia? Do you think it's the real deal?
So here's something that happens in Hebrew artifact, let's say fields. So the market is flooded with fakes. The one of the top guys at the National Library of Israel told me that he receives on a daily basis. He'll receive WhatsApp messages and emails and all kinds of things of people saying, "Can you date this for me?" And immediately, if you see a Star of David, you know it's fake because that's what the forgers put on there, and they don't even, and they all, they'll have gibberish Hebrew letters, Star of David, usually with some kind of gold leaf. Sometimes it's a menorah, right? It's they don't. They're people who like know various symbols, but they don't know how to put them together in any meaningful way. Because you do have ancient manuscripts of the Star of David. It's rare, but you have it. But no, the immediately fake, right? Immediately fake.
Okay, so what about this one? Can you see this one?
Yep.
Yep.
Who is that supposed to be Jesus?
He's got the dreadlocks going.
Oh, so
You
is that Samson? Who, like, what are we looking at here?
I don't know what we're looking at. I'm just showing
Okay.
you.
But there's
These are
another
ones I
star.
put under
There's another Star
the.
David on that one too.
Yeah, but
Where's
look
that?
at this one. This has got the nails, but it's got 3 nails and then the cross, the horizontal one.
Hmm.
Where's the
And I don't
Star
know
of
what
David
that
here?
fence is. I'm not sure what the hell that is. Oh, there we go. That's a better picture of it.
Stephen, where's the Star of
Sure.
David? Oh,
Right
there it is
there.
at the bottom.
There you go.
Look, and you've got some Paleo Hebrew looking letters like Alpha and Hey,
Yeah.
Aleph and Hey, but yeah, it's pretty much
Oh,
just
you mean down here?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
if you really wanted
These
that to be an ion,
there's a close up.
yeah, there's the Star of David. Yeah, that's a dead giveaway. The odds of something with the Star of David being real are pretty low. It's possible, but it's unlikely. I'm not sure
Well,
it's meant to be
I
a Star of David. This might just be like a geometric shape.
well, you guys know what I think about these pieces.
So you believe they're real, or excuse me, you believe they're fake. Sorry,
Well, I just
because they came from Burrows.
I just because you know everything that I've, been able to test just has not,
Right.
it hasn't panned out. Can you see this one?
Yep. So
Yes.
there's Jesus riding a donkey, and there are olive trees in the Americas, which are there olive trees naturally in America? There might be wild olives in
I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. And so we have things that look like, and are those actually the mystical symbol, or are those supposed to be like wedges of
Well,
cuneiform?
that looks like a whole bunch of other stuff going on down there. Let me see here.
Or is that?
I mean, the mystic symbol's up here, right?
Oh yeah. So that
But
looks like a
now,
cuneiform symbol to me, but
now here's the mystic symbol again right here. And then
right.
we got all kinds of little what looks like cuneiform text, but I don't know what the hell it is. I got to tell you, this stuff is, it's wild, man. It's wild.
So let me ask you this, because I never met Burrows, never heard of him before today. So you asked him, I assume, where the cave are, and he just refused to tell you, or he didn't know, or what was it? What was his explanation?
Oh, he was, I'm trying to remember all the conversations that we had.
And
But
Scott, why don't you just, hey,
he
Scott,
always had oh, go ahead.
exit out real quick while we're talking, just and then we can
All
return
right,
back.
sorry about
Yeah,
that.
no problem.
Stop share.
There you go.
Okay. Um, he always had an excuse, and I took people to the cave, but at the last minute they were untrustworthy. He always had an excuse, and it was just bullshit. It was all bullshit. And I just I've always said to people, look, I can't speak for the two, three, four, or 5,000 artifacts. I can't sit here and say that they're all fake, but all I can tell you is anything that I have been able to test, that I have been able to make any headway on, didn't pan out.
Wait a minute.
And
There are over 2,000 artifacts that came
no, more like 4 or 5,000.
that are attributed to Burrows in the cave.
Well, that Burrows Cave, that's why I said there's no way that he carved all these pieces because some of them actually are quite beautiful.
Hey,
If
can
I
you
if
show
I
us
go
one
back and
that's
look,
more
I'll
artistic? That I'm curious to see. Because nothing we've seen until, and look, everybody's a critic, right? And I don't know art, but none of this really impresses me, artistic wise. I mean, actually, the woman kneeling to the sun, that was at
That was
least
pretty good.
that was pretty decent from an artistic perspective. Where the other one looked like the cartoon version of Jesus.
well, I'm not going to defend I'm not going to defend, the artwork and any of this at all. I mean, now okay, so let's see here. I'm trying to see if I can find a piece that's actually well done.
And just so you know, too, Nehemia, he made various claims. The story changed. He had one time claimed that he had the tomb of Alexander the Great was in the Burrows Cave. So
Yes.
he would make,
What?
yes, and I'd be like, how would you even know what you're looking at as a, like, how would you know if it was his tomb? But yeah, he would make claims like that. So just he would tell people different stories. And I mean, I've been following this since the 80s myself because I find it always found this story to be so fascinating because and again, the same with the Michigan relics. I'm very much into this subject, and but I also everything that I've and there were publications I read about in the 90s that were doing some debunking, but also some. Okay, now there's a coin.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to get rid of this other stuff. Okay. So let me see what I got here. All right. Oh, I got to move you a little bit. There we go. Okay.
Now this
So
was in
I'm gonna just quickly scroll through some of these coins that were supposedly gold. These are old photos that were taken back in the 80s.
okay.
I'm guessing these sold for more than $75 if they're gold.
No, I didn't buy these for $75. I bought that stupid
No, I'm
piece.
saying whoever bought this in for whatever price, I'm guessing he was able to get more of a premium
Oh, right,
for
right. Well, if
something
this
that
is real gold, he had a partner. What was his partner's name? A fairly wealthy guy that was buying a lot of the gold stuff and selling it and sharing it with Russell. I can't remember the story. Shit. Here's an interesting
let's do some
piece.
editing here, Steven.
And this is gold. This stuff was supposedly gold.
Oh, look, there's an elephant from a
Yeah,
cave in Illinois.
That looks
that
like
looks
another
like an
elephant.
elephant head.
It's Dumbo.
Stop it now. Come on, come on. There's another head.
That's a
Scott, have you ever seen one of these coins in person?
Yes, what I saw were reproductions.
Okay, you've never seen
They
the
were not the
actual.
original gold pieces. But
Do you
yes,
know of
I
who
have a
owns
couple. I have a couple.
a couple of reproductions?
yeah.
Yes.
Who has the originals of these? Do we
Well,
know?
apparently those were sold and the money was split. I don't know what the hell that is.
That's supposed to be King David or something like that.
That looks pretty big. That looks like it might be, a foot tall, maybe. I don't know.
Well, so who bought these things? Oh, go back to that. What's this? What are we seeing here?
Looks like the backside of a gold bar. George Neff. That was supposed to be the alter ego of Russell. See
Oh,
that
that's
name? George
okay.
Neff.
Okay,
I
and that's stamped
remember
on
that.
one of the.
Yeah, I remember that was his alter
This
ego.
gold bar, what was Russell claiming this is? Other than a gold bar, like a model.
Morgar. He was claiming it was a gold bar. I mean,
Yeah,
this
but
is
why would it be in English if it's an ancient America? That's what I'm missing that part
I,
of it.
I I I don't know, but it looks to me like maybe that was stamped on the back or something.
Yeah, it says 999 fine or something, and maybe it was 999 fine, maybe it was,
Yeah,
all that Viking gold, right? Like brass or something.
But it
But
also might be evidence the this is it's an interesting out of context. We don't know what that means, but maybe he
right.
actually did have actual gold that he was melting down and making these coins with. And
well,
that,
you know what? That's a good point.
yeah.
Here are some of these, bar pieces,
So
supposedly.
so he has the ability to carve, the ability to melt and cast metals, not particularly skillfully with the casting of metals. I mean, like yeah.
Hey, he's got an elephant on there. That's pretty good, don't you think?
That's probably the best piece we've seen so far. And even then it's somewhat abstract, right? It's not like look at any, I don't know, ancient Roman gold coin. They're have a much more detail. Well, they're
Yeah.
struck and these are probably
Oh,
cast.
here we go. A little Egyptian. We got a little Egyptian beard going right here.
Yeah. So here's a question I have. I don't know if either of you know the answer. Was he targeting LDS and Mormons with
That's
his
a great question, but I gotta believe that he was. I
I
gotta
don't
believe he
I don't
was.
think he was originally. I think once Wayne May came on the scene in the mid 90s with his Ancient America stuff, I think then that's when he was keying in on a Mormon audience. Those Jesus ones, when were those Jesus ones found? Do we know the dates on those?
No,
Okay.
they're all this stuff kind of came out in the 80s, in mass, as far
Yeah.
as I
And there was definitely an influence of the Michigan relics on these objects as well, especially the
Can you go
religious
back
stuff.
one? That was the most skillful one we've seen so far.
That's pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's actually the best one we've seen so far. I mean,
that's
and
not bad on a gold
no,
piece. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
decent.
And then this is a sort of a abstract version of a Tanit symbol. Are you familiar with Tanit? Ancient
No.
Phoenician goddess.
Okay.
And she's actually quite prominent on a lot of these pieces. So that would date it back, to the Phoenician period. You know,
Is that
this
a
is,
knot?
pardon?
No, I'm just trying to think what the Hebrew name for that might be. Um, but anyway,
Tanit. It's
yeah.
the goddess Tanit. Yeah. There she is again.
Um,
Actually, Tanit is the origin of this symbol goes back to the constellation of Virgo with the arms up. Um, my girlfriend Haley's written a lot about that,
hmm.
and her connections she's made to Freemasonry are pretty solid. I think that's it. That's all I have
Now
with
let's go
these.
back one more. That was lifted off of of a Jewish coin from the
This one?
yeah, that's definitely taken from a Jewish coin. Well, I don't know. It's a palm tree. It could be a lot of coins, but probably it came from a very well-known Jewish coin.
Yeah.
That kind of palm tree
I
design.
have not, I got to tell you guys, I have not gone through these Burrows Cave photos
Hmm.
in a long time. It's kind of fun to
Yeah.
Can you go back to the Jesus stuff? I saw something there interesting that we hadn't had a chance to look at.
all
The
right.
Are we
the
talking about the Jesus on
Which
the black
which one do
slates?
you which one do you want to look
You
at?
had those folders, and there was one that said Jesus and that I don't even remember what it was. It was something I'm like, we got to see that.
I think Jesus and the
Oh,
serpent.
okay, hold
I
on.
think
Let
that was
me
it.
let me pull the
And
Let's see
just
that one too. Jesus and
okay,
the
here's the folder.
yeah.
Here it is. Oh, okay. Jesus and the native. That's what I'd like to see. And then we could see Jesus and the serpent.
Oh, yes. This one.
Because this is obviously
I had
targeting
this
a
I had
Mormon
this
audience.
piece. I had this
Yeah.
piece. This was one of my favorite pieces.
Oh, wait, so it hasn't been, you haven't enlarged it yet. So, or not.
Oh, is it not coming through? Hold on.
We just see the file, not the actual
There
photo.
we
There,
go. Uh
okay. And again, not the greatest artist, but what'd you sell this one for out of curiosity?
I sold about shit. I sold a collection for 60,000. I don't remember how many
Okay.
pieces were in
You got
there.
more than it was worth then. Okay.
I can tell you this, I got more than I paid for it. And I asked the guy 3 times. I said, you know that I found fakes here, right? I don't want you to come back and say, oh, gee, you found fakes. This is all fake. I'm telling you now, before you write the check. And he said, nope, I want them. I want them. I said, okay.
Well, he
You
probably
want
thinks
the
that some of
Jesus
them are
pieces?
real. So,
Yeah.
so this is very interesting. So the feathers on the natives' headdress are similar, are the same artwork as the olive branches, where the woman is putting the olive branches before Jesus, who's on the donkey. So it's
Oh,
the
yeah.
same artist, or very likely the same artist.
Likely the same. Do you notice how Jesus doesn't have feet?
oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
was saying he's the cartoon version of Jesus.
No, he's walking on the water. What do you
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, is this supposed to be him walking on the water?
Well, that's what I assume.
But he doesn't have feet in any of them, I think. Well, I guess there's on the cross he does, but
Well, look,
um,
he's Jesus. He doesn't need
wait,
feet,
so he's
right?
walking here like on Lake Michigan or something because he's made. No,
I
I'm. That's probably what it's meant to be.
I think it's probably trying to there's been some folklore in Indian circles about that probably were later influenced by European settlers about a bearded white man from the old country from that came across the ocean. It may be representative of him coming across the ocean to meet the Native Americans in
Oh, okay,
this
that's the ocean.
Yeah,
And there's your
actually,
nails, by the way.
that makes more sense.
That
Yeah.
does make sense.
and this would
There are
be
your nails.
a post-resurrection Jesus. So this is interesting. If you
Yeah.
notice, he doesn't have Jesus with the palms, with the in the palms. It's all in the wrists where the nail marker is, which that was reflecting stuff that was coming out with studies of the Shroud of Turin in the 70s and 80s that showed that Jesus was most likely through the wrist as opposed to the palm. And so I think he
Okay.
was taking that information and integrating it into these paintings. Another thing I want to bring into this too is that right around the 1970s, in the 1970s, Barry Fell came up with his book, America BC. And
Yep.
actually, from my understanding, some of the artwork even reflected stuff that were in the Barry Fell books, including one there was a mistake in it, and I think Barry pointed it out and said, "Hey, that's a fake because that was incorrectly put in my book or something like that." So even Barry Fell was identifying these as being fakes even in the 80s, and of course that was a big time because a lot of people were, I think he was trying to sell to the same people who were buying the America BC books. He was trying to create stuff for them to buy as well. So he was kind of
A-
fitting into that.
and on the right there, is that the tree of life?
I don't know.
I don't think so because, well, I don't think so because I think it's supposed to represent Jesus crossing the waters and coming to America, and that tree would be something just part of just something in the background. I don't think it would
Okay.
represent the tree of
Yeah,
life.
but the only reason I would disagree with that is because if you look behind Jesus, you got the mystic symbol, you got some other symbols, you got some Ogham script, and then behind maybe that's sort of what he was bringing, and the natives were bringing the natural world or
Oh,
something.
okay.
I think there's some symbolic meaning there. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
The other thing is, if you look at the top, do you see that?
A crescent moon,
Looks like a crescent moon. Yeah.
right? Or maybe not exactly a crescent moon, but
Kind of.
Yeah,
But
that'd be my guess.
the artwork isn't that good. But here's another thing. Look at the hands.
Hmm.
yeah.
It almost looks like he's given a gang sign, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was seeing the same thing. It looks like they're both giving each other the same sign, like
Yeah.
kind of like
I
The
can I
artist just
can
isn't that skilled, though. I mean, maybe I don't know.
well, it looks like the hands are very prominent. It looks like there is something being conveyed there. I will say this, I'm a Freemason, so hand gestures I'm very familiar with, and I don't know what the hell hand gesture that is.
Was Burrows a Freemason?
No,
Do we know anything about his what's the word I'm looking for? Religious affiliation or
he did not come across to me as strongly religious at all. But I can't say that I have any idea what he was. I do not know.
okay. What let's see can we see the other one, which was the so this
Yeah.
was Jesus and the native, and there was Jesus
G
and the serpent.
yeah, Jesus and the serpent. Yeah.
Let's see that one.
Okay. Are you seeing this or
Not
no?
yet. There we go.
Right.
Okay.
Oh,
All
there
right.
it is.
Now, it's interesting. You can see his foot.
Let's see his foot.
See?
Oh yeah.
So you know how it talks about Christ trodden the was trodden the head of the serpent. I think that's why the foot's there, representative of that.
Maybe it's also to emphasize that the serpent has no feet anymore.
Right. But I definitely think it's Jesus trampling the serpent. I think that's why the foot's so
Okay.
prominent. As soon as I saw the foot, that to me is what
Gotcha.
recognized to me.
Yeah, just 1 foot though.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Well, that's part of like his abstract design where he can't really show depth and
Yeah. Yeah.
um
Oh, go back. Is there ancient mystic symbol on here? It doesn't look like
Not
he has
that I
one.
can see. Let me see if there's another photo. I think
Usually
I can.
above his head. Huh.
maybe this
Interesting. Oh,
predates that symbol's introduction.
yeah, it could be.
This is one of Russell's earlier works.
Okay. If it's one of his earlier works, he hadn't integrated the mystic
Oh,
symbol into the previous stuff.
I'm being facetious.
Oh.
But you're
Okay.
probably not wrong.
Guys, just to be clear, I'm being facetious on just about everything here with
Okay.
I don't hold these things in any regard. I'll be honest with you.
What's this one? Oh, I think we saw this one. This is
No,
where
I
is
don't
this
think
the
we did.
dreadlocks? Or is
No,
it a different one? Oh, it's a
a
different one.
different one.
Huh.
Oh, but he has more. See, that's very similar to the other one. It has the
It
same
is. It is.
pseudo Paleo Hebrew letters or whatever they're supposed to be Phoenician down there. But you do have your nails up there on they're in a different order here, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
it's a different thing. Look at the X over here,
Yeah.
and then the 3 steps. Um, yeah, I don't know, guys.
Is that
But
supposed to
this
be like
is
Alpha and Omega? But it's more like Alpha and Omicron, but he might not have known the difference.
anyway. Yeah, I don't know. I thought that one was not bad, But anybody could carve these things. You could just go.
I mean, it takes some skill. I don't know that I could do it.
Well, I don't know if I'd
It
bother with
obvious
it.
he obviously lacked artistic
Let's see the bear cub here.
acumen.
This one's pretty good.
Huh. Interesting. Jesus with it looks like a grizzly bear.
He barely has feet there.
Yeah, with a little baby there, and he's
That's not a
taming.
hippopotamus underneath.
No, no, that's the baby. Come on, guys.
Okay,
And
or
here's
a rhinoceros maybe.
Yeah, now that I look at these things with a skeptical eye, I got to be honest with you, I just see garbage.
Hmm. Fascinating.
Hmm. So the takeaway from all this is Burrows was selling forgeries, which some of which he made himself, and then some of which maybe somebody else made. I guess that must be your
Yeah.
Why,
desktop.
why why don't you close out the share screen there, Scott?
Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Let's
Uh,
see.
so it's first of all, I just wanted to ask you, Scott. You said you sold that collection to your collection to somebody. Was it a Latter-day Saint you sold your collection to?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. It was a person who was involved in some cable television show. And well, let me be clear. I don't know if this guy was LDS or not. I didn't get that impression. He didn't say anything about it, but he could have been. He just may have kept it to himself.
Hmm,
You
interesting.
And
didn't
but
check his underwear.
what I what I what I found what I found interesting is that went out of my way to make sure that he understood exactly where I stood.
Mhm.
And he was still willing to write a $60,000 check. That's a lot of money.
And when was that? Like what? How many? Like was it decades ago, or because it was more
No,
money?
5, 6 years ago.
Oh, okay, not that long ago.
Not very long ago. No,
Okay.
I'd say probably
Do,
6 years ago.
do you know who has it, and are you allowed to say?
No, I can't remember his name, to be honest with you. I could look at my checkbook because I wrote his
Somebody wrote you a
name.
$60,000 check, and you don't remember his name? That's
Well,
a
no, I
lot of
don't.
people must write you really big checks all the time. Then
No, no, stop it, stop
I'm just teasing.
it. No, I can tell you this. I know he was 77 years old because he was
Oh
very
wow,
forthcoming with it.
wow.
But he was a sharp guy. I mean, he didn't appear to be slipping at all to me at the time. He wanted him.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. I mean,
And
it sounds like somebody who really believed in it because
oh
you're
yeah.
not going to get to own it very long if you're 77, right? Let's say you get
Well,
20 years out of it. That's pretty good. Um,
I think he had something in mind where he was going to use them as part of a production or whatever. It never happened as far as I know, but um,
huh.
you know what? It was a transparent transaction, and
Mhm.
I hope he's happy with him. I had a great time with him. I learned a lot. My experience with Russell was I just chuckle every time I think about it because he was a guy I would classify as a chucklehead. He was I'm like, Russell, do you remember in the book you wrote? You don't remember you wrote about this piece and you're talking about where you found it in the cave? That didn't happen, Russell. And that was the last he was busted and there was nothing he could say. So we
So,
were
did
done at
you
that point.
stop talking to him after that? Is that what
No,
happened?
I didn't stop. He stopped talking to me. I was of
Uh,
no value to him anymore.
okay.
Now, just real quick as we start wrapping this thing up, you had a relation. You've done some work. You've written for Ancient American magazine. You have a past with Wayne May, and he's a very prominent person in a lot of areas here in my with my audience. I just want to maybe you can talk a little bit about your time that you spent with Wayne.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to think that my time with Wayne is over. I mean, Wayne is a really good guy. He's a good person. He and I have always gotten along well. I think he respected me, and I'm trying to remember when we always got along great. And every time we were at the conferences, we'd always get along, and I wrote articles for him because even though I knew it wasn't a highly respected in the academic community publication, I didn't care because the academic community I've been at odds with for a long time. So in many ways, Wayne and I were cohorts, right? We were,
And who is Wayne May again? Somebody clue
Oh
me
yeah,
in.
just just so you know, he's the publisher of Ancient America magazine. He's a convert to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the 1970s, and he's one
Okay.
of the leading proponents of the Heartland model, along with Ed Goebbels, who's I've had on my program.
And does he believe these artifacts are real? Is that
Yes.
okay? Got
Yeah. Oh
okay.
yeah, he's on board with all of them. And
Even the one with the English inscription on the back? I mean,
um,
don't
you
know.
ever heard of a true believer?
And by the way, I mean, I guess it could be that originally it was an ancient artifact and somebody said, let me use that for my mother's tombstone, I guess.
No, not in this case.
Seems very unlikely to me, but
No.
I think the argument that will be used is that there may be some fakes, but there's
okay.
some legitimate ones too. I think that's
Well, and my official position is, there are a few artifacts that I will say 100% are fake, but that doesn't automatically mean that everything else is fake, right? But it does cast a long dark shadow and really puts the burden of proof on those that want to claim that they're authentic. So, and good luck with that. People have been trying very hard for, several, a few decades now, and it hasn't really
I
caught
mean,
fire.
look, I did a program about fake Dead Sea Scrolls, right?
Pardon me?
There are Dead Sea Scrolls that have now been proven to be fake. Um, they all showed up on the market, I believe, after I want to say 2002. It's been a while since I did it.
Yeah,
Um, or around maybe even 2012. They showed up on the market after it was announced there were no more Dead Sea Scrolls by the people who were descendants of one of the people who had found them or collected them or whatever
right.
before they were in public hands. And then 10 years later they're like, oh yeah, my father had uh a safe overseas and in
And he
Switzerland or
forgot
something.
about it, right? Yeah,
I don't remember the exact story, so I'm
yeah,
probably not doing it justice. But the point is, there are Dead Sea Scrolls that are fake that are now admitted to be fake. The Scoian collection is one group. The Museum of the Bible is the other group, and they'll tell you it's fake, right? They're like, okay, we thought they were real when we bought them. We paid a lot of money, but now they've been proven fake. We accept they're fake. But most of the Dead Sea Scrolls are still real, right? So a few fakes doesn't mean that everything is fake.
well, that's right, and that's a really good point. Um, I mean, I have my own personal opinion about what I think about the rest of them, but really it's irrelevant. All I can do is make statements about what I've tested, what I know, what I think the evidence supports is um, is not real. So that's all I can say. But again, it does cast a dark shadow and really puts the burden of proof on people that want to make the claim that these are real. And frankly, because of the Burrows Cave artifacts and the Bat Creek stone, is what led to a rift between Wayne and I. And I didn't have a rift with Wayne. Wayne is not happy with what I'm saying about Burroughs Cave, but my God, you guys have just been through it. I would hope that you can appreciate why I'm so skeptical at this point. Now, when it comes to the Back Creek Stone, obviously that's a different story. That one is, in my opinion, authentic and it's important. And I do think that, you have to look at the question of who carved it. This clearly was somebody who understood first century Paleo Hebrew, as I understand it. And does that mean that there were somebody in North America that understood Paleo Hebrew? I think the answer is yes. But who it was, what the story is, I have no idea. Now, where I had a problem with Wayne and the Back Creek Stone is he invited me to lecture at Brigham Young University at some point, and I found out a little bit more information about that particular invitation, and I felt like I was going to be used to further an agenda that I did not want to be part of. So I declined to give the lecture, and that kind of was where it started to go downhill. And then, of course, the Burroughs Cave stuff. Um, and so I think, I think Wayne's unhappy with me right now. So
Let me say this, and I don't know Wayne, I've never heard of him before. But in the defense of the people who do believe these are authentic, I made all these comments about how it was a bad artist But if you look at actual authentic artifacts from the ancient world, a lot of them were what we would they didn't have the same aesthetic as we have today. Let's put it that way.
Right,
And so a
right.
lot of times they are very abstract, right?
Yeah.
Um, so
No, your point is well taken. And we sit there and for some reason in our own minds we conjure up an expectation level of what the artwork should look like, what the symbols should look like, and it has to be this way. And there's really no basis for that. We don't know. The person may have understood the different concepts, esotericism, whatever, whatever messages were being conveyed. It doesn't mean they were a good artist. Just because they understood
or maybe
doesn't
that's what
mean
they
that
were
they
aiming
did.
for, right? In other words, what we think is good art might not be what they think is good art, right?
Yeah,
That's all.
exactly. Yeah.
So everybody's a critic and a judge, right? But
Well, you look at certain modern artwork, to me, it's just a mess.
there was
But
a guy who recently bought like $1 million banana or something,
he bought it, and then he ate it.
and then he ate it.
It's crazy. So just real
Yeah.
quick, this is Wayne May right there
Yep.
holding his Book of Mormon, and this is one of his magazines he puts out. He puts out various different magazines,
Yep.
and
Turtle Island. Yeah.
yeah, and so he's
And make no mistake, Wayne's a really good guy. I'm not trying to disparage him at all. I'm just a little confused on why he's upset with me for doing my job. He always wanted me to be, honest and forthright, and I've always been that way. And
Well,
um,
hopefully this can be a call for reconciliation between you, even though I don't
absolutely,
know him.
yeah,
But
you'd like
hopefully,
him. He's a good guy. I think he's what do you call it, a deacon or something with the Mormon Church? He's pretty high ranking, I guess, my
do they have
understanding.
deacons in the Mormon Church? I don't
Oh,
even
I
know.
don't know. I don't know.
but
That
he
I apologize if I got that wrong, but
we have so many different church callings, so I'm sure he's had many church callings, and he's
Okay.
active in his ward. He's based in Wisconsin. I've talked with him a few times. I've been wanting to get him on the program, and yeah, that's what we want to do. Reach out to Wayne. Hey, we'd love to get you talking to Scott again. I love bringing people
yeah, yeah.
together.
Yeah, I want to make it very clear. 99% of my interactions with Wayne were very positive, and I still consider him a friend. And if he called me up, there's no ill will on my part at all.
Great, I love it.
All
Well,
right. Wonderful.
Nehemia, was there anything you wanted to say before you wrap
No,
this up?
this has been fascinating. Very,
Found
very.
something you weren't aware of.
I knew nothing about this. And I think that one artifact which has the English writing on the back, which says mother or something, like that really is that's some good detective work, Scott. So
Well,
you know,
thank you.
kudos on that. Great.
Well, recognizing the English was not good detective work. It was
No,
the
but a lot of people looked at it and maybe didn't bother turning it over, and if they didn't notice that there were letters, right?
yeah. Well, I'm just used to looking at all surfaces. It's
Yeah.
it's part of the training, but that one was not tough. I will say that.
Well, and real quick, Scott, did you ever do an episode on the Burrows Cave on
We
America Unearthed?
did. We
Okay.
did. Yeah, we did. And the person that was my guest was a guy by the name of Harry Hubbard. Have you heard that name?
No, it doesn't ring a bell. Mm-mm.
Yeah, he's an interesting character too, and he's another one that I would consider to be a true believer. Um, and yeah, it's been so long, I don't even remember what we did in the episode. I think I came across as being a little skeptical, but I remember it being before that artifact turned up.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Because I remember I have an image of you using one of the images from the Burrows Cave in one of your episodes years ago, probably like 10 years ago. And I was like, oh, he's doing Burrows Cave stuff. So
Yeah.
so I was kind of curious about if you ever did an episode about it. So I'll try to dig that episode up
Yeah.
and post it in the
Oh,
description.
I'm sure you can find it. I'm
Yeah,
sure it's.
great, great. So
Well,
well, this was a great conversation we had today. I really, really always enjoy our time. I love the dialogue that we have here, and I think it's just great to get all these different perspectives. And what's so fascinating is that we're talking about this is a Mormon podcast, but none of us are Mormons, and we have typically a Mormon audience. And I think it's really good for us, for them to hear what outsiders think of some of these things.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of Latter-day Saints, not a majority, but there's a lot of Latter-day Saints who do believe the Burrows Cave are authentic and that it isn't used as a data point to prove the Book of Mormon. And so I thought it was really important to have outsiders who can look at these objects and see if there is anything to them. And of course, Scott is the one that did authenticate the Bat Creek stone, which many of you use as evidence of the Book of Mormon as well. So I think it's really important that we realize that here we're not here to debunk people's faith. We're just here
No,
to help inform it, give you better data, better information, so that if you're maybe
exactly.
trying to convert people to your church and you're showing them Burrows Cave stuff, it might, and then they just do a little internet search, they realize that it's fake. That might not be a good thing a good way to sell your faith to them, or share
Right.
your faith. So I think it's really important for people to be informed in this time that we live in. So Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
thank you,
was a lot
Scott.
of fun. And, um, a lot of people, I just want to sort of jump on that point that you said, a lot of people that want to use the Burrows Cave artifacts. It's a natural thing. It's understandable. I totally get it. And most of those people, I don't think are aware of what we talked about today. And all I can ask people to do is look, make up your own mind, consider the facts, consider the evidence, and try to separate your faith from the real world and hard science. And then after that, whatever you decide to do, that's up to you. But I'm not here to try to poo-poo anybody's anything. I just want to know the truth. That's it. And so I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to talk about it.
Look, and the bottom line is just to summarize, Scott didn't say I can prove all these artifacts are fake. He said I can prove this particular artifact is fake, and all the other ones seem to be associated with the same person as these other ones. It doesn't mean it's fake. Like, going back, one of the Dead Sea Scrolls that they proved was fake. They looked under a really powerful microscope. You'd appreciate this because I know you deal with microscopes.
Yeah,
And they found table salt, modern table salt based on the size on the surface, which doesn't prove anything, right? Somebody was eating a sandwich, right? I mean, literally, it could
right,
have
right,
been.
right, right.
But some of the table salt was underneath the ink,
Uh-oh.
and that definitively proved it was.
Law of superposition, right?
There it is. Yeah.
There it is.
Well, we learned a lot today. This was a
Yeah,
fascinating conversation. Nehemia,
very
thank
much.
you so much for participating as the co-host. I really enjoy.
Sorry I was late again, guys. I apologize.
All right,
The
it's all
timing
good.
actually was perfect, wasn't it?
It really was. It turned out to be perfect timing. So, folks, I'd like to hear what you think about it in the comments about this interesting conversation we had today about the Burrows Cave. Do you still believe that the Burrows Cave objects are actually authentic? Share that in the comments. We'd love to hear. Again, this is a place for everybody, and maybe Scott could even look at the comments if people have questions and stuff about that. And we'd like to hear what people have to say. There also will be links in the description. Scott, I'd like for you to maybe send me some links to some of the books you discussed today in the
Yeah.
interview, and I'll put those in the description as well.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then also in the description, for those of you who'd like to financially support the channel, there will be links there as well. And I want to thank all my contributors and donors. Couldn't do it without you. Remember, this is the most important thing. All the voices of the restoration will be heard here on Mormon Book Reviews.